Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Hot Toys Secret Base figure preview video. Before we begin, I have to say a massive thank you to Ryan Kirkwood for going out in person and snapping these stunning high-res pictures. Show Ryan some love in the comments down below because without him, this series literally would not be possible. If you are looking to pre-order Sabine, I have put the link to Pop Collectibles in the description below. As always, do your own research, make sure you are comfortable before buying. I've also included the discount code Justin's Collection for 5% off your order if you do decide to buy from them. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button so you're notified as soon as a brand new figure preview video goes live on the channel. Being a fan of Rebels, if you'd asked me prior to Ahsoka airing which character I wanted from the series first in 1/6 scale, I probably still would have said Ahsoka, even though the DX version is strong. I just think there's room for improvement with the head sculpt. Second on my list, close to the top spot, ever so slightly under, would have been Sabine. So yes, I'm really glad we're getting her. Now, in Rebels, she was a true rebel. She was a firecracker, she was an artist, she was a Mandalorian, she's a Jedi. She ticks a lot of boxes, and she's a total badass. I just bought into the energy that she exuded on screen. And now, in live action, the Aussie actress who portrays Sabine is a little bit different in terms of the performance compared to Rebels. Still, I like the character, and it's Sabine Wren. What the hell is there not to like? Including this little guy, the Loth Cat. Believe it or not, this is our second 1/6 scale Loth Cat. We got one in the Grogu pack. That guy is awesome, but this one is so much better. You can see that feisty little personality on his facial expression. He looks sassy as hell. The glossy black eyes, there's a decent level of fur texture. So yeah, I think that maybe Sabine is worth picking up just for the Loth Cat alone. You can quote me on that, actually. I'm extremely curious to see how these USB lightsabers work. We haven't actually had one yet at the time of filming this video. The first one is probably going to be on the horizon very soon. It's Ezra's lightsaber. I love the design of it. You can see the little red toggle switch, the split emitter up top, how it opens up, then the blade plugs in, and you get two different blades. The question is, how the hell is this thing going to work? Is it going to be bright? Is it going to be great? Or is it going to be terrible? We'll have to wait and see when we get our first one, but they are going hard on the USB-powered lightsabers, so I guess they think it's good, so that's something. You know how sometimes something seems really good on paper and then when you do it, it doesn't work out super well? I think that's what happened with the Ezra hologram. Where are dude's eyes? He has no eyes. He looks creepy as hell. Hopefully they improve this because they just need to add some eyes in there. Right now, it isn't very good. At least, I don't think it is. The shape is on point, just needs eyes. Speaking of eyes, Sabine's can move. That's a plus. Remember back in the day when we barely ever got moving eyes? Now it's a mainstay. Thank you, InArt. I'm pretty sure they're the reason for that. The display base is simple enough, Sabine Wren Imperial style flooring. I would have maybe liked to have seen a little bit of that circular section of the ship just on one side of the display base that comes out of the ground, just the suggestion of it. This gets the job done, like I said. It's simple, straightforward, and there's some silver dry brushing on the surface to add a little bit more detail. The boots do look like pleather right now. I'm hoping that they make a change and go with sculpted plastic, because there is no reason for these boots to be pleather. You can make this a split-cut boot design with the boot guard being plastic, because they literally just did it with Boba Fett from the Book of Boba Fett. He has the boot guards. They come over the foot, it still works, there's still leather grain texture, there's still detail, but they have no risk of becoming damaged, flaking, creasing over time. I'm hoping they update this figure to that, or maybe these are already sculpted plastic. They are just so convincingly real looking that they look like pleather on camera. I don't think that's the case. I think they're pleather right now. Her armor is an asymmetrical design. Of course it is. She's an artist. She wants to express herself after all, different colors and patterns at play. And you can even see some brush strokes, which normally I would write off as sloppy paintwork by Hot Toys. But in this instance, I think it adds to the charm, like Sabine has sat down and painted this armor herself. The flight suit is this purplish crimson brown, very hard to describe. You can see it. There's a subtle amount of warmth and also a subtle amount of red to the brown. as well as contrasting stitching and some grey panels, so visually speaking, the outfit is quite interesting. She's got multiple belts and straps and harnesses going on, holding her holsters up, and you can see that she does come with a second version of Ezra's lightsaber. So if you don't want to go with the USB powered one, you can just have the normal hilt, plug the blade in, and job done. Now, I would really like if one day they gave us die-cast lightsaber hilts. I know, completely unnecessary and probably overkill. It just would make them feel that little bit more premium and authentic, going with real metal. Not to mention they would look better, they would actually look like metal. This is good, it's just that the flat silver doesn't really sell the metallic effect, at least not to me. The belt area is super unique. She's got two different layers. It looks almost very Han Solo-esque for the bottom belt buckle, and the top one is smaller, more narrow. And she has a waist clamp, unfortunately. I am not a fan of waist clamps. I find them too restrictive. You can't move the figure forward and back on the display base. She's locked in one position. Whereas with a crotch grabber, you have a little bit of play. You can move her forward and back just a touch. So I'm going to be ditching the waist clamp and just going with a crotch grabber, at least for my copy of this figure. The chest armor, also asymmetrical in terms of the pattern. The sculpt is symmetrical. There's scuffing, there's chipping, there's wear and tear, and you can see the uneven surface because of the paint that they've added over the top. Again, adding to that artist vibe. And it is accurate to the show after all. I would still like to see some weathering and soiling in the creases of the flight suits for Mandalorian characters. They've not quite decided to do that yet, and I understand they want to keep it crisp and clean. Just some wear and tear, some distressing on the surface, because chances are these flight suits aren't going to be brand new. Because the armor sure as shit isn't, it's scratched up to hell. I'm not saying it needs to be filthy, I know the Mandalorians probably wash their flight suits in between battles. Just some distressing on the surface, some light sanding, some scuffing, some soiling in the seams, to show some age, as though these have been worn a ton, not just brand new factory fresh. Not a deal breaker, not by any means, just something to, maybe consider. Hot Toys, if you are planning on adding more and more detail to your figures, maybe add some detail to the fabric parts as well. There is a lot of detail on her hands, you've got some texture on the gloves, and even her fingernails are painted. That is some really good attention to detail. I do have to give them credit for that. Now, we do have to talk about the body, because unfortunately, they have gone with single bend elbows. Why? Why do all of the female Mandalorian characters have single bend elbows? Armorer, Bo-Katan, Koska Reeves, and now Sabine Wren. This is a lightsaber wielding character. You need to be able to bring her arms up to hold that lightsaber. It's going to be very hard to do that with only single bend elbows. Give us double bend elbows. We just saw them with Kate Bishop. We've had them with Princess Leia. There is no reason why you cannot give us double bend elbows. It's a darn crime, at least in my opinion. Okay, on to some positives. The helmet is gorgeous. The visor is a separate glossy piece of plastic, so there's actually depth there. It's not just painted on the surface. The rangefinder will be able to move down, just like all the other Mandos. And I'm just now noticing that all of the design work on the surface of the helmet has been fully sculpted in. It's not just paint on the surface, that is three-dimensional. I guess Sabine etched that onto the surface of her helmet. The head sculpt, though. This is gorgeous. This head sculpt might just be one of their strongest female head sculpts ever. And now that they've added moving eyes, you don't have that female Hot Toys head sculpt dead-eyed stare. They do it all the time. But with this head sculpt, it's not an issue because you can adjust the eyes, you can move them around. And as you do, you will change the expression. If you have her eyes looking up ever so slightly, she looks more fierce. If you have them looking down ever so slightly, a little bit less so. You can have them looking left or right, and that will change how the expression looks depending on the angle, because the smirk might not look like a smirk from one angle. I also like the red lipstick. It's nice and glossy, and it's a pop of colour on an otherwise already very colourful figure, but it just works. Then the hair. There is so much texture. You can see the strands. There's a flow to it. And you've got the individual little bits and pieces sticking out. Hot Toys are getting better and better with each new head sculpt that they're doing this year. They are improving on all of those things. Skin texture, detail, hair, the individual strands, the bits sticking out, the moving eyes, and likeness. Granted, some aren't perfect. We all know which ones those are. This one I think is. I don't have any complaints with this head sculpt. I reckon it's a 10 out of 10. Actually, no. It's an 11 out of 10. This is a beautiful head sculpt. I always display my Mandalorian figures with their helmets on. This time, I ain't gonna do that. This figure is going to be displayed holding the helmet exactly like this. I've started to do that more and more because the head sculpts are getting scarily real. And I cannot wait to get Sabine in hand. She is a badass character, she always has been, and in live action, translated now to 1/6 scale, Hot Toys killed it. I don't think anyone's got any complaints about this figure, at least I don't, aside from the single bend elbows. The one stain on an otherwise perfect recreation of Sabine into 1/6 scale by Hot Toys. I am hoping they come to their senses and adjust it. We do have time. This figure isn't due out for at least a year. If you are looking to pre-order Sabine, I have put the link to Pop Collectibles in the description below. As always, do your own research, make sure you are comfortable before buying. I've also included the discount code Justin's Collection down there for 5% off your order if you do decide to buy from them. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next video.